Halo teman-teman, trader investor. Kali ini kita akan membawa oleh-oleh dari Danau Toba. Kita akan melihat recap race final balap F1 Powerboat ya di Danau Toba Balige. Teman-teman bisa lihat nanti bagaimana serunya babak final race yang dijuarai oleh Rusty Wyatt. Ini dia nomor 17 dia. Sebentar lagi kita akan lihat wawancaranya melalui tim Sharjah. Powerboatnya nomor 17 itu dia, Rusty Wyatt ada namanya tertulis.
Yeah, so we really hope to get a good start. Of course, it starts the whole race off in a good position, and you know if we can get up there at least in the top three and not get held back off that start, it's going to really help the whole race to stay calm and just try and work a couple more positions if the door opens. You know, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of lap traffic out there with 17 boats in rough water, so it's going to be a handful, no doubt.
17 drivers.
Oke, itu dia teman-teman, tadi wawancara dengan Rusty Wyatt. Sebentar lagi detik-detik start akan dimulai. Silakan teman-teman bisa nikmati. Nah, ini dia starting gridnya. Ada Jonas Anderson, ada Stark, Ford, ada Wyatt di nomor 17, Aran nomor 2, Marsalek 77 dan Celio 11. Ada 18 pembalap ya yang akan berjuang pada babak final ini ya, teman-teman bisa tunggu dan lihat keseruannya nanti ya. Oke, stay tune, selamat menikmati.
The youngster Jelf, as Ben Jelf will get his best start ever, and Thaniel Quimsey, veteran of over 20 years, starting 9th, Merit Stromoy starting 10th, and then Philip Rams, the second driver with the Sharjah team, and then Brett Dillard, the American, starting in 12th. He was here last year in that 12th place position, and then of course we want to keep an eye on Manfred Zandbergen. Now we're going to see what what he can do in this race today, and Duarte Benavente starting 14th, and Cedric 15th. And Alberto Comparado, a big disappointment for him, hoping to do well today. And then Alexandre Bourgeot starting in the 17th position. We talk about Comparado a little bit, Jonathan, and there you see him on the screen. He was very quick in practice to start things off. Now he's replaced Sean Tarente. He's in the new seat in the number 6 machine. A lot expected from this youngster who's 26 years old. He's had a pole before, hasn't had a victory yet, and he ended last season with 3 straight crashes. So he needs to get the karma back and turn around some positivity. He's going to have to work a long way up today, this afternoon, to put himself in good stead. He's starting all the way back in the 16th position.
Yeah, it must be a lot of pressure on him because, you know, he's obviously up until now for the last couple of seasons, he's run his own team. There hasn't been a lot of pressure on him, and he's slowly but surely been improving in his pace, and obviously the experience that he's gained is very important. But now to go to one of the top teams and probably be their front runner, it's going to put a lot of pressure on him. Like you said, Steve, earlier in the weekend he was really fast. Unfortunately, they picked up something into the engine which fried it, so it's put them on the back foot, and they're having to start right at the back of the field.
There's Guido Campolini, team manager, as he watches the youngster who, by the way, his father used to be a teammate of Guido Campolini back 20 years ago when they were with the DAC racing team. He did win. Fabio Comparado did win a race in Malaysia, and we call him King of Malaysia because he did so well in that race. I'll tell you what, it's been a great morning so far. We've had a lot of festivities here along the waterfront, and we've had air shows, we've had dancers, we've had all sorts of...
Nah, sebelum race juga ditampilkan tarian dari nasional dari daerah Sumatera Utara. Teman-teman bisa lihat begitu seru, anak-anak muda. Oke, cakep ya, itu dia. Jadi sebelum start, ya penonton juga ikut asik bergoyangnya, luar biasa ya. Jadi memang event ini diselenggarakan nanti sudah terikat kontrak ya 5 tahun ya sampai 2027. Nah, ini dia atraksi dari Jupiter, pesawat dari TNI Angkatan Udara ya, yang terkenal dengan nama Jupiter. Mereka melakukan akrobatik di udara, cukup seru, teman-teman bisa lihat. Ini juga dilakukan di tahun yang pertama ya. Hampir saja, luar biasa. Wah, ini gerakan memutar yang cukup fenomenal, melangkahi teman-teman. Tipis sekali teman-teman. Luar biasa, ini kayaknya lebih seru juga dibanding race yang sebenarnya ya. Oke, start sebentar lagi akan dilakukan teman-teman. Kita akan lihat. Selamat menikmati dan enjoy.
Which is a slightly different scenario to racing in Formula One. But I tell you what, he certainly set the place alight this weekend, because when he went out there, I don't think he was expecting to be quite as his performance to be quite as strong as it was. But at the moment, he's this weekend.
Yeah, it'll be fun watching the enthusiasm from the Ontario crowd. You know, before we came here last year to Indonesia, it was the first time we had raced in Southeast Asia since round 3 of 2005. Jonathan, that was
last year. They set everything up, and over to you, Steve, on the timing.
All right, 30-second board. We hold our breath here. We'll try this one more time. Jonas Anderson, defending world champion on the pole. Eric Stark, keep an eye on those top two. We wait for the lights, all 3 rows to come on. They're on now. We hold our breath, and they're away, and he's pulled away from the dock. And the Swedish driver is 1-2. It's Jonas Anderson trying to power his way around Eric Stark, but Stark is staying right there with him, side by side, as they head down toward the 2 commitment buoys that we talked about. Here's Stark nosing out ahead, sliding through. Can he hold the lane though and hold this number 1 spot as they go around side by side, coming along? A great push by Eric Stark. Can Jonas Anderson take the lead as they come gunnel to gunnel down the front straightaway? As Jonas Anderson tries to nose ahead, they are dead level as they head down into turn number 1. We hold our breath as they go through 1. Jonas Anderson trying his best. Stark now has the position though. He's got the inside lane for the right-hander. Stark now fighting as best he can. Jonas Anderson trying to hold on, and Stark got the job done. He went through. Eric Stark, now can he hold it as he goes into 4 and 5? He's starting to pull away. Mission accomplished for Eric Stark here halfway into this first lap.
Tell you what, that is totally brilliant driving from both of those drivers. They went into turn number 1, into turn number 2. Stark, he kept the boat maximum speed on the outside. Jonas had to bury the boat coming out of number 2. That slowed the boat down a bit because it got really wet underneath, and Stark was on the outside, and then they came nip and tuck down past the start finish line into number 1, into number 2. Stark took a wide line coming through number 2 because he knew going into the right-hander, the turn number 3, that he'd have the tight inside line.
All right, Eric Stark goes through. Yellow flag out. Yellow flag here on the first lap. And there's an incident on the race course, Jonathan, with the yellow flag. The first of 30 scheduled here. The question is, did Stark get past? Oh, no, what a shame. Unbelievable. Going over down in the corner. As you can see, the driver, that is Ferdinand Zandbergen. Guess what, Jonathan? He did this here a year ago. He's done it again.
But it looks like he's actually done it on the same, correct me if I'm wrong, no, I think he's done it on the same right-hander as he did last year, so bad luck there for Zandbergen.
The question of the hour is, did the yellow flag come out after Eric Stark completed the lap?
Good point, Steve, good point, because if they did not complete the first lap, are they going to switch the positions back, whereby Jonas would take the lead from Stark? Let's watch this space.
All right, we're going to hold our breath and wait for that decision to be made, but what a great start for Eric Stark. I'll tell you what, he got a great jump off the dock, and he held his lane.
America. So don't assume that these 2 guys are going to be leading the way, because Rusty Wyatt is really chomping at the bit, and he's desperate to get a good position here. So on that restart, he may, if everything goes to plan, he may be able to jump one of these boats.
All right, and the wind continues to swirl. Now remember last year, we literally had to run in the morning a shortened version of the Grand Prix, only because in the afternoon you could not race. It was unraceable. The wind conditions were just terrible. We had 1 meter waves. And now this time we got figured out that the morning event is better for everybody, and the wind conditions are gusty, but the water conditions look pretty flat, so it's good. It'll be a little bit tougher for the drivers to navigate when it's not mill pond calm, but it adds a little bit more fun to the factor.
Yeah, but what great driving there, Steve, between those two front drivers. I mean, unbelievable. They did put a foot out of place, you know, and you could see they were touching each other almost as they went into the turn.
All right, we hold our breath. Will they get the green flag here? No, they're going to go around, and they're going to look for a spot on the race course. Now, Luis Ribeiro, the race commissioner, said, listen, I'm going to drop that flag any way that I want to, and he does right now, and we're back racing again, and here we go, the two Swedes fighting side by side as they take off down through turns number 4 and 5. We've gone through right-hander. You can see Stark right off his right hip trying to do his best to close up the real estate, and Rusty Wyatt right behind the Swedish driver. He's being hounded behind by another rookie, Stefan Urant, the driver out of Estonia. Those are your top 4, but look at Jonas Andersson run away from Eric Stark, and he's got about almost a 10-boat length lead. He's in clear water. He got the whole shot, Jonathan, a perfect start, and this two-time world champion is looking to win his 5th race in a row, but hey, it's early, and it's going to be fun as we go along here in Lake Toba for the first round of this championship.
Yeah, we spoke at the start. We knew that that was going to be crucial. And, you know, Eric, to be fair to him, he did not put a foot wrong there as he came through 1, 2, 3. They were touching each other. You could see the paint coming off almost as they were so close together going into turn number 1, turn number 2. But Jonas now got a little bit of clear water ahead of him, Steve, so he can slowly but surely build that gap between himself and Stark in second slot. Rusty Wyatt still in there in third. Didn't quite get the restart that he wanted, but nonetheless driving a blistering race there as he hangs on to Stark in that third position.
All right, 1.56, the difference between the front 2 Swedes here. Jonas Andersson leading Eric Stark in the victory team. There we see Rusty Wyatt, the driver out of Ontario, who after 4 years of racing in North America jumps into this DAC boat for the very first time on Friday, and he felt very, very comfortable. 4-time world champion. He's got Scott Gilman there helping him out, calming him down. Gilman, as you know, is a very mellow guy, and it's great to have this combination going because they're going to be a factor before this year's over.
Yeah, and watch out also for Rusty in that third position boat because it is a little bit longer. The wind is picking up. Some of the waves are building up on the far end of the circuit. So as the conditions may get worse, is Rusty in that longer boat going to be able to push Eric in that second slot? But at the moment, even Stevens between the top 3.
Jonas Andersson gained 1 second the last time around on second place Eric Stark, but Rusty Wyatt gained a little bit on Eric Stark, so he's closing the gap just a little bit on the Swedish driver right there on that beautiful blue victory team boat out of Dubai.
Yeah, Jonas leading the way there now, clear water ahead. So I think the next time, unless there's another incident, the next time the Stark is going to be able to start pressurizing him is once they get up against some of the back markers, Steve. Because when that happens, sometimes some of the more, let's say, inexperienced drivers, they don't know exactly what line to take as the faster drivers are coming through, and that means that Eric still may be within a chance about a halfway through the Grand Prix to be able to make some advantage of that situation.
Jonas Andersson, looks like Philip Rams possibly is dropping out. Jonathan, the other Sharjah team boat, the Finnish star. He was the youngest driver ever in the history of the sport to start a race at 18 years old. So the 12-year veteran has got, he's got a problem with that left sponson as it just literally was breaking off, and they're doing their best to get him back, possibly taking on water here, Jonathan. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, Jonas Andersson got us another second back as he gained a little bit more ground on Eric Stark, and Rusty Wyatt lost a bit of ground down. So the top three are starting to expand just a little bit as you take a look at us. We had Philip Rams just go by very slowly. What'd you see, Jonathan, as you stuck your nose over the whale?
A little bit coming off the bottom of the boat there. It looks like there's a bit of delamination down on the bottom of the boat, and obviously they're trying to get that out without sinking. So anyway, back to the race, Steve.
All right, as we look, there's Alberto Comparado. We keep an eye on the youngster out of outside of Venice. He's taken over the sea of Sean Torrente, and we figured he was going to be moving up. He was down in that 16th position at the start. He's up to 12th, and he's trying to close up on longtime veteran Duarte Benavente out of Portugal, who's with the Atlantic team. And there you see the leader. But Alberto Comparado has set some good times this morning, and he was the second quickest next to Jonas Anderson, who did a 58-second lap at about 138 kilometers per hour around this 2.2-kilometer race course.
Yeah, but this new Jonas Anderson design, boat built in Denmark by Christian Molgaard, they seem to be able to work very, very well together. Jonas knows exactly what he wants, and Christian then obviously builds the boat around the performance that Jonas is looking for. And they just seem to be working so well together going forward. And this new boat, it seems to have been a revelation, because Jonas last year, he was so quick. He was the benchmark. But this year, I think he's even opened that gap a little bit from the victory boat of Eric Stark in second.
We saw Eric Stark go by in the blue boat. Here's Rusty Wyatt in third, driving that DAC. Sharjah Team Machine. Of course, Sharjah switched their sponsorship over during the offseason to Scott Gilman. Literally bought his team, kept Scott Gilman as the team manager, and it's working out so far. Gilman's all smiles because this kid, Rusty Wyatt, not a kid, but he is a kid on this circuit, got a chance to run quickly in pressure. Said, wait a minute, that can't be right. And they questioned Gilman, and Gilman said, it's right. And by word, it was right, because he was lightning quick all afternoon in qualifying.
Yeah, and again, I mentioned yesterday the Canadian Alex Letton, who tunes a lot of these Mercury V6 engines based in Canada. He's really pushing for Rusty to do well this year. Now, Jonas, he designs and builds his own engines, and also Alex in Canada says his. And he's on a mission at the moment to try and push as hard as he can, get as much horsepower as he can out of those engines to close the gap between
1996 when Guido Capellini won 6 in a row. So we're going to rare air here if he can pull this off and win 5 in a row.
I tell you what, though, Rusty is really hanging on to Stark there. If Stark makes one simple mistake, maybe doesn't get the boat to actually bury right in the going forward.
As we look at the clock, and we can see that we're down to 7 laps left to go in this Grand Prix event. Still, the battle for first place is tightening up a little bit more. It's only 2.7 seconds between Eric Stark now and Jonas Anderson as he's trying to close up on him. And Rusty Wyatt's drifting farther and farther away in his battle for second place with Eric Stark. That's not happening for him, as you see Eric Stark starting to reel in Jonas Anderson just a bit. Whether Jonas is playing it coy, we do not know, but Eric Stark getting a bit of energy back. It's under 3 seconds. It was almost 5 seconds about 2 laps ago, Jonathan. Let's keep an eye on those two.
Conditions getting a little bit rougher out there, Steve. That wind has started picking up. How good is this new Anderson boat going to be against the tried and trusted boats in second and third? The DAC's built in northern Italy. As you say, Stark now putting down the hammer, definitely increased his pace, but still that gap is going to be, it's going to be one thing to catch him, Steve. It's going to be another thing to overtake him, as we see Rusty Wyatt now starting to put a bit of pressure on that second place of Stark.
Yeah, he's closed up just a tad now. He's got within 2 seconds of him, so it's starting to sandwich a bit closer. 1, 2, 3 is getting closer and closer and closer as you see Stark desperately doing his best to close the gap on this Bindin Vietnam team.
Yeah, Jonas again, you can see the back markers again coming into play there. Jonas trying to take a tight line on the inside back markers, definitely slowing down his pace. Is this where we're going to see Eric be able to close down on him? And hopefully, I say hopefully, I don't mean hopefully, but I do mean that he can actually overtake him for that lead position. action.
You're saying hopefully because you want hopefully crazy action at the end, which we all do. And we're starting to see it here now. Look, take a look at us as they fight their way through traffic. Rusty Wyatt doing a great job as he circumnavigates through the traffic, as he splits the traffic just like a heated knife cutting through butter. He made it look good.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Steve. You can see now that Rusty's lost a little bit of ground. That back marker's come into play. You can see that Eric there's been able to open that gap. It was down to 1 second. It was Sonia and Rusty again. You can see the back marker on the outside, definitely slowing his performance as he gets around that circuit.
All right, it's less than 2 seconds, 1.3 seconds between Jonas Anderson, the defending world champion, and Eric Stark with the victory team, trying to pick up his first world championship, trying to win it the first time since 2018 in Sharjah. And Eric Stark, cool, calm, and collected before this race started, had the lead, but then we had a problem on the opening lap, and we had to come back and restart, and they gifted Jonas Anderson that #1 spot, and Eric Stark had to move back after having a picture-perfect start, and he's been chasing Jonas Anderson ever since.
4 laps to go to the end of the race. 1 second between that lead position of Jonas Anderson and Eric Stark. It certainly is not over, Steve, but if he's going to make a move, he's got to make it very, very soon.
As we look at Rusty Wyatt again, a rookie Canadian in third place. Now he's 3 seconds back from Eric Stark, so Stark is reeling in Jonas Anderson. It's up to about 2.3 seconds, but I'll tell you what, there's about 3 laps left to go, Jonathan, and here we go. There's the battle in the long lens for second place, as you see Eric Stark and the Canadian right behind him, as he continues to try to close up on him, and he's getting more aggressive, and Rusty Wyatt is starting to try to challenge Eric Stark side by side as they come down the front straightaway, as Eric Stark took to the inside, and now they're coming up on traffic. Let's see if Rusty can figure out a way to challenge the driver from Sweden as he comes up and makes a move. He's trying to challenge now Marit Stromoy, who's in 9th place. They're looking to lap her, but wow, the last few laps, this could be really heated as now Stark tries to power his way around the Norwegian driver, so the Swedish driver figures out a way, and Marit Stromoy nicely gets out of the way to stay out of the battle as she's been lapped. And here's second place, the heated run between these two drivers.
Wow, that was great driving there, wasn't it, by Rusty in that third slot. You could see he got on the inside on that last lap. He really buried the boat, got on the inside of Stark. Stark had that little bit more acceleration. Then he switched to the outside, thinking he could drive around him on the next turn, but couldn't quite do it.
All right, as we count the laps down here, we continue to watch the second place battle. Stark going a little bit wide, Rusty staying on the inside, got a little bit closer, but Jonas Anderson is building up to over 3 seconds now. And we're getting close to the end of this race, just a few more tours around the opening round of this UIM Formula 1 Championship here in 2024, and it's been a ding-dong battle so far, a real barn burner here, Jonathan. The top 3, it's been a good race, and we've seen all sorts of excitement, and the start was chaotic to say the least, but once we got going, it's been a good close battle all the way around this 2.2-kilometer race circuit.
Tell you what, this is going to give Rusty a lot of drive going forward, because I bet you he did not believe that come his first Formula 1 Grand Prix that he was going to be on the podium, but he's really he's really done so well this weekend. I mean, and we didn't know much about him, as I said earlier, before this event, but he's taken it to these 2 lead drivers. He has not put a foot wrong out there, and he's in that third slot and done a good job.
On board with El Porto Comparado just momentarily. He's in the 11th spot. He needs to move up 1 spot to put himself in. And here comes, you can see Eric Stark is closing visibly. Here's the battle for first place. These 2 Swedish friends are fighting side by side here as we're running out of time as they continue to push. You can see Jonas Anderson on the inside. Here comes Stark, though. He's running. The question is, does he run out of time? We're on the final lap. And now Eric Stark, side by side, will give it his all as he comes up on him as he got side by side, but he couldn't get the job done at that point. And Jonas Anderson nosed ahead.
What a drive there by Stark. I could not believe he had that boat on the top of the water. He was driving at 110%, and Jonas tried everything to get it, to try and keep ahead of him. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit excited here, Steve. But wow, what a battle royal there with 1
Wyatt trying to close up on Eric Stark. First, second, and third. Really heated, and here comes Eric Stark. He's moving ahead as he tries to get past. They're going to come down side by side, dead level. Who's going to come across the line? Who will finish first? And here comes Rusty Wyatt as he moves off into that first place, and Rusty Wyatt wins the race. Wow, what an unbelievable job for the Canadian driver as he took it out to the outside as he comes out of the final corner and heading to glory. And the rookie Rusty Wyatt wins for the first time ever in his very first race. He won by less than a second. Those two Swedish drivers got caught up in the mix, and Rusty Wyatt drove right around all two of the Swedes and went on to fame and glory. And what an unbelievable start to this season. Jonathan, we saved it for the final 10 seconds of this race, and Rusty Wyatt for the Sharjah team came home with the victory.
I knew what happened, Steve. I could see Jonas on that last lap starting to slow down for whatever reason. Problem, allowed Stark through, and of course Rusty, watching all of this, he took advantage and pulled through to win the race.
And he went way wide too on Eric Stark. He used the momentum, Jonathan, as he came rocketing out of turn number 8, heading to 9, and you can see side by side Jonas giving it all his best, but he couldn't do it, and all of a sudden out of nowhere on the outside lane came Rusty Wyatt. Tell you what, this was like the Kentucky Derby. This was an unbelievable finish. He came around the final corner and kept the speed up, and he rocketed past both Swedish drivers to pick up his first win in his very first race in Formula 1.
That is the first time, Steve, we've seen a photo finish in a race for as long as I can remember, 30, 40 years. Did he have a problem with the trim? It looked like Jonas, all of a sudden the boat was dragging through the water. He's screaming at the guys to get the boat in. Did he have some damage underneath the boat? But what a drive from Wyatt from Canada. My goodness, look how pleased he is. He took advantage there on that last, 500 meters of the actual race itself. Brilliant drive.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. This driver who's 29 years old out of Ontario. He's from Innisfil, and with his first career, as we get a chance to watch for the very last time, out of the final corner here, on the right, there's Jonas Anderson slowing up, and here comes Eric Stark flying the boat, but he didn't have the momentum. Rusty Wyatt had it on the outside as he just cruised and powered his way through, while the other two Swedish drivers were fighting nip and tuck next to each other. You can see how Rusty Wyatt came out of nowhere as he slid around the corner, and look at the momentum that he carried, and coming home with extra speed, and bye-bye Swedish pancakes, we're number 1.
I tell you, I wonder whether Eric actually knew that he was quite that close, because as you say, coming into that last turn, what happened was Eric was quite wide, but right behind him, but with the boat running at maximum speed, Wyatt, he could see he had that opportunity going down towards the start-finish line, and boy, he jumped at that chance, and he won by 9/100ths of a second.
Unbelievable. One of the greatest races that we've seen in so very long. We were just hoping to get Eric Stark close to Jonas Anderson on that very last lap, but we started to notice about 2 laps from the end that all of a sudden Eric Stark, who was almost 4 seconds back, got it to within 2, and then all of a sudden one more time, and we looked and we went, wow, Eric's got a chance to win this race, and then all of a sudden Jonas slowed down just enough to where Eric got side by side with him, but they both went around the corner tightly, and Rusty Wyatt just powered his way around to the outside, and with that boat that he has never ever been in before until Friday, he had never driven a DAC boat. He looked so comfortable in it today. He didn't give up on his fight with Eric Stark for second place. He hounded him the whole time. Look at the crew. These guys have never worked with each other before. These are Scott Gilman's crew members from throughout the world, and we had some great Canadian crew that were right there with him.
Yeah, as they came down through number 9, it was, Steve, that last boy, they came through number 9, and he took that opportunity. Amazing.
All right, as he takes it around, congratulations to Rusty Wyatt. Let's take a look at the unofficial results as we have them here. After 30 grueling laps of racing, Rusty Wyatt wins, and he wins by less than a second over Eric Stark. Jonas Anderson bitterly disappointed, finishing in in third place. And another rookie, Stefan Arund, came home in fourth place, the driver from Estonia. Fifth was Partak Marzoak, the driver who won this race a year ago. Peter Morin finished in sixth for the French CTIC China team. In the seventh spot, Daniel Quimsey picks up some points, finishing seventh. He climbed up a few positions. Sami Celio struggled. He started sixth. He finished eighth. He's got to be scratching his head. Marie Stromoy comes home in ninth. She started 10th. She gained a point. How about Ben Jelf? Started 8th, finished 10th. He got a point. And then just missing the points were Alberto Comparado and Team Abu Dhabi. And then Brett Dillard struggled all day with power. He finished 12th. Duarte Benavent, the driver from Portugal, one of the oldest drivers on the tour, most experienced. Cedric Deguin, 14th. Alexandre Bourgeot with the two Maverick teams. And then, of course, Philip Rams dropped out with a technical. And then our good buddy Ferdinand Zandbergen crashing out for the second time in a row here.
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the stats man, but has a rookie ever come into a Formula One race and won it?
As he was flying the boat, Jonathan, teetering in his starting orders. You see Jonas Anderson coming up on the podium. Yeah, he's smiling. Why not?
Well, sort of, Steve, isn't it? A slight grin on his face, not that big, massive smile that we see from time. But, he's a realist. He understands. He knows that he had that sewn up until the last probably second and a half of the Grand Prix itself. And Eric, what a drive. I mean, what a first lap start there. And to side, just got ahead of him, knowing that the next turn was a right-hander. He'd be on the inside of him there. And he's got into the turn just ahead of him. Jonas had to switch again to the inside to try and get past him. Couldn't quite do it.
Here he comes, the man of the hour, the man of the weekend, Rusty Wyatt from Canada. And by the way, you may be asking, why is he holding a UAE flag if he's Canadian? It's because his license is from the UAE, as is Eric Stark, who is Swedish. So actually, and then the same thing with Jonas Anderson wearing, of course, his team flag with Vietnam.
Steve, the other thing that I noticed looking back at the times, the gap, there's Scott Gilman must be really happy with that result.
He barely got up there, didn't he?
Yeah, he's getting on a bit now, Yeah, he was looking to retire last year, and now I'm sure he's got that impetus. He won Grand Prix, couldn't sort them out, and it was like, he was telling me, I think I'll jack all this in, and he said, I just can't cope anymore. But he stuck with it, and then all of a sudden, Sharjah approached him.
For Rusty Wyatt, I'll tell you something, nobody expected this.
Added to that, the overall package going forward.
Well, big smiles
for many, many years. So that looked like a pretty good combination. Then this guy came out of the blue and, added to that, the overall package going forward.
Well, big smiles for Rusty Wyatt. I'll tell you something, nobody expected this. And out of the final corner, he found himself in the victory circle, stepping up to the number one plate. Rusty Wyatt, a hero of the day, hero of the weekend, the rookie, already showing that, yes, miracles can happen, but so can speed and preparation and experience, and that's exactly what the Canadian did for the Sharjah team with Scott.